Namaste Saraswate Om Janananda Chakshuran Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Shri Chaitanya Manovistam Tapitam Yena Bhutale Shvayam Rupakadamayam Dadati Svakantikam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasudeva Gaura Bhaktavan Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 8, Text number 6. On the board, beginning with Twang.
Yes.
Tvang Hi Brahma Vidam Shreshtaha Samskaran Kartum Arhasi Balayor Anayor Rinam Janmana Brahmano Guruhu Tvang Hi Brahma Vidam Shreshta Samskaran Kartam Arhasi Balayor Anayor Rinam Janmana Brahmano Guruhu Tvang Hi Brahma Vidam Shreshta Samskaran Kartam Arhasi Balayor Anayor Rinam Janmana Brahmano Guruhu Tvang Hi Brahma Vidam Shreshta Samskaran Kartam Arhasi Balayor Anayor Rinam Janmana Brahmano Guruhu
Tvam hi Brahma Vidam Shrestha Samskaram Kartumahasi Balayo Anayo Narinam Janmana Brahmano Guruhu
Ladies. Tvam, Your Holiness, He, indeed, Brahma Vidam, of all Brahmanas, or persons who understand, what is Brahman? Brahma Janatiti Brahmanaha. I don't need to repeat that. Shreshtaha, you are the best. Samskaran, ceremonies performed for reformation. Because by these reformatory activities, one takes one's second birth. Samskar Bhaved Vijaha. Kartam Arhasi. Because you have kindly come here. Kindly execute. Balayoho of these two sons, Krishna and Balaram, Anayoho of both of them, Nrinam, not only of them, but of all human society. Janmana, as soon as he takes birth. Brahmanaha, immediately the Brahmana becomes. Guruhu, the guide. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. My Lord, you are the best of the Brahmins, especially because you are fully aware of the Jyoti Shastra, the astrological science. Therefore, you are naturally the spiritual master of every human being. This being so, since you have kindly come to my house, kindly execute the reformatory activities for my two sons. Purport. The Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita 4:13, Chaturvanyam maya shrishtam gunakarma vibhagashaha. The four varnas, which are occupations, Brahmin, Kshatriya, Vaishya and Shudra, must be present in society. Even if it's not named, and even if people with misunderstanding or lack of knowledge decry this system, for whatever reason, this system still, you could say, in a perverted way exists. There are teachers, there are leaders, there are mercantile men, and there are workers. In every society in the world, it may have the wrong objective. It may be, people may be misplaced, misbehaving, and exploiting and so on. But it's naturally there, just as the parts of the body are there, even if they're not functioning properly. So teachers, Brahmins, they may not be qualified by standard given here, but they are nonetheless taking the role of educators. They may not know what the goal of life is, they may not know, they may not believe in any life beyond this one. And the administrators are there, they may be in quality of mentality of a Shudra less, but nonetheless they're there, and they're taken as the governors or the executives of state. So Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, Shudras must be present in society. The Brahmins are required for the guidance of the whole society. Nowadays, well, I don't know, I guess, still the scientists may still be held as being like the intellectuals in society, giving people the knowledge beyond their capacity. If there is no such institution, as Varnashram Dharma, and if human society has no such guidance as the Brahmins, human society will be hellish. So more or less we can say that's the situation. About we have our educators, they're not acting, they don't have the qualities, if we see in the Bhagavad Gita the qualities of a Brahmana, are not so much the work they do, but the quality with which they work. They're peaceful and tolerant and forgiving, and all kinds of wonderful qualities are there, self-controlled and so on. We don't generally see that amongst the educators of the world today. They're not trained in these principles, and neither do they manifest Brahminical principles. They take the position without the qualification. They don't know the goal of life. They're the blind leading the blind. The blind leading the blind into hell, as Prabhupada mentions here. In Kali Yuga, especially at the present moment, there is no such thing as a real Brahmana, and therefore society is in a chaotic condition. Everyone, not everyone, but the so-called, those who are supposed to be giving direction to society, they all have different ideas, they fight with each other, compete with each other over false understanding, misunderstanding. Formerly there were qualified Brahmanas, but at present, although there are certainly persons who think themselves Brahmins, they actually have no ability to guide society. Of course, in India there are many persons who claim that they are Brahmins, mostly by birth, but they don't behave like Brahmins in most cases. Neither are they living or preaching the objective or the purpose of the Brahminical class to guide society. Mostly they're compromised, and we see in the West often compromised. Brahmins would never take a salary. As soon as they take a salary, they're disqualified from being a Brahmin, because it means they're being employed. And taking a salary means Sudra. Anyone who takes a salary, no matter what the job is considered a Shudra. It's a Shudra principle, of course, in Kali Yuga. Society is in such a crazy situation that, it's just mismanaged, and so everyone's obligated, practically speaking. You can't exist in society today, practically speaking, without being paid. It's totally abnormal for everyone. Maybe for those who are Shudras, they get maintained, they don't take a salary, they don't get money at all because they misuse it. It's a characteristic of a Shudra, a simple worker, is as soon as they get money, and we see this in many cases, they go to the pub, the men, the women go shopping, spend it all in the shop. The men go to the pub, or the gambling house, or some other place, and spend the money. And the wife spends it on useless things for the house and for herself or the family. Typical mentality. It's not the only quality, by the way, but it's a typical one. It's not exclusive. There are no Brahmins guiding society today. There are no proper executive heads either. The executive heads, are generally speaking grossly in ignorance, spiritually, and very materially motivated, extremely materially motivated. Intention of simply increasing sense gratification, economic development. That's about as far as their, you can say, the objectives go. Conquering on their own behalf, controlling and conquering and so on. Unfortunate situation, the poor citizens have no guidance, and naturally they default to their particular qualities, which are generally in the mode of ignorance. Maybe a little passion there, but mostly ignorance. The Krishna conscious movement is therefore very much eager. Prabhupada says the Krishna consciousness movement is therefore very much eager to reintroduce the Varna ashram system into human society, so that those who are bewildered or less intelligent will be able to take guidance from qualified brahmanas. This is a very significant part of Srila Prabhupada's vision and his preaching mission. But the lack of qualified brahmanas, of course, or the challenges therein involved are numerous. But this is, as it is to spread Krishna consciousness, to become Krishna conscious, we all know it's not as easy as it sounds. And in the society which we live in today, even on a microcosmic level is difficult. And there are many objections from various, both from our own conditioning. Not many, let's say, members of the society are really serious about this, or even willing to be a part of it. It's rare, or to understand what it means to be a part of it. It's not just because I'm an ignorant, whatever, sense gratifier of some kind. We kind of like default, I'm a Shudra, I'm a Grihastha. But there are qualities also for the Shudras and Grihasthas. As soon as you ask a Shudra to do service, they're supposed to do it. If they don't, they're called Antija. They're outside of the Varnashram system, what to speak of being a Shudra. Shudras serve, they're servants. They do what they're asked to do. And Grihasthas are supposed to follow the principles of Grihastha ashram, not just because I can't control my senses and I like to have sex as much as I can, therefore I'm going to take the Grihastha ashram. It's not exactly Varna ashram. Training is there. For Shudras there's no training, but there's so much other than the occupation. They may be an accountant, or they may be an engineer. These are Shudra activities, by the way. Although they're held as highly regarded activities in society today. IT, we're all Shudra activity. You get paid a lot of money, but they're actually Shudra occupations. A different perspective on society. This Varnashram is devised or given by God for a higher purpose, not just to occupy people, engage people according to their mundane propensities, but it's to deliver, ultimately it's meant, but at least moksha, dharma, kama, artha, moksha, dharma, artha, kama, moksha. To achieve moksha, liberation from material life, not just to facilitate it. Even dharma, in its perverted form, known as modern religiosity, is kind of aimed at moksha to some extent, but not with a clear understanding of what liberation means. A very vague idea of a Godhead behind everything, and generally a mundane concept of liberation. Mostly it takes us to the heavenly sphere only. That's the idea. Whether it does or not is another thing, but that's the goal. That's the kind of theoretical goal, at least. With little idea of the soul's nature or the soul's existence beyond material existence. It's very, very rare, very vague. So Varnashram system, at least the leaders have a very clear understanding of these things. And they arrange society in such a way as to give everyone, even the animals, the trees, every living entity is treated in a way that they can become elevated towards that objective goal of moksha, whatever form of moksha it takes. Brahmin, Prabhupada then goes on to say, Brahmin means Vaishnava. This is a very, you could say, high statement in one sense. After one becomes a Brahmin, the next stage of development in human society is to become a Vaishnava. Putting it the other way around now. You become a Brahmin first, then a Vaishnava, but a Brahmin means a Vaishnava. And we can say, I can't think off the top of my head of an example there, but the objective, or let's say the real duty of a Brahmin is to be a Vaishnava, that's for sure, because the Brahmin's duty is to guide people to the ultimate goal of life. And the ultimate goal of life is to serve Krishna. The servant of Krishna is known as a Vaishnava. So it's a Brahmin's job. A real Brahmin is a Vaishnava. People in general must be guided to the destination or goal of life, and therefore they must understand Vishnu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The essence is interesting in this verse. We see that the emphasis seems to be on the fact that Gargacharya, who has been sent by Vasudeva to Vrindavan to give the Upanayam, the initiation to his sons, the reformatory process, so they become recognized as second born, is the Acharya of the Yadu dynasty. He's the Guru, the Kula Guru, the family Guru of the Yadu dynasty. There are different types of Gurus. Guru, so many talk about Guru, but there are also different structural types of Gurus within Varna Ashram. It's not just what we understand as Guru and then a definition within it, Siksha, Darshika, Diksha, and so on. But there are different types of Gurus who have different functions. The family Guru, then maybe some specific Gurus. Modern day society has computer Gurus. I've seen it advertised. Computer Gurus, sports Gurus. I don't know if they use the term sex Gurus, probably. They use probably. Anyone who can teach you how to become a good sense enjoyer is called a Guru. By many people, perhaps. That's how they view it, I don't know. But they're given that title, and obviously everyone knows that they're not qualified by tradition, at least. Even as a Kula Guru, a family priest who performs the various samskaras, the various sacrifice, the various reformatory activities to establish the child in a proper way. And they're Varna Gurus, according to one's position, just like Dronacharya. Dronacharya was, although a Brahmin, was teaching warfare to the Pandavas and the Kauravas and others. He was a guru in the Varna Ashram system. There are different types of Brahmins who act in different roles as gurus. They're all gurus in one sense, but the ultimate purpose of the guru is to deliver one from birth and death, to awaken one to one's dormant relationship with Godhead. Satguru, eternity. He's teaching the life of eternity, of truth, Sat, the absolute truth, not the relative, but the absolute. Other gurus may be teaching the methodology, if followed properly according to Guru Shastra Sadhu, to progress in spiritual life. And they have their part to play. Just like if you go to education in the world today, you have different teachers teaching you or us at different stages of our education. And they continue to teach children at that stage. They don't necessarily remain our teacher throughout our life. Although we do honor them for what they taught us and recognize that. Then you go on to a higher level where the teacher may be giving higher knowledge or deeper knowledge, more complicated knowledge, whatever, in maybe a specific subject. So in a sense, in the Varnashram system, it's an elevation, and one guru may be doing the basic groundwork of reformatory initiations like here, although Gargacharya isn't qualified to do much more than that, of course. But in some cases, that's all they can do, or not much more than that. Chant mantras and perform fire yogas and different purificatory things for the child or the family, name-giving ceremonies and astrological charts and all these things. It's a Brahminical duty. Those on a more level of advancement may also know all those things, but it may not be there. They may not do those things, or they may do them for the sake of elevating others, but they're certainly more qualified than that. But some may just have that level of qualification, not so advanced. They may not have come to the level of a Vaishnava who understands the ultimate goal of life. So we're in a very unique situation in Kali Yuga where there is practically no qualified person at any level. Practically. Some take those roles, and maybe there are some who are more qualified than others, but practically there is no expert qualified persons in astrology, in Ayurveda, in any of these sciences, which were common new knowledge for many people previously. They were trained, they were born with these characteristics also, in a good family, a lifeline of astrologers. Oftentimes they go back 100 generations or 1,000 generations of astrologers. They're still there in principle, but not with the same qualities. Watered down Kali Yuga influences were there, and so on. I remember one time in Jagannath Puri, I was looking for an artist to do some paintings, and one of my friends was in Puri, and he was an artist, and he was employing some artists to do various jobs. So he found this man in a line, family, or as far as I know, they've never been anything but artists. Hundreds of generations. They're artists. They paint the Jagannath temple. The system was there, but it's not it's not a confirmation you're automatically an artist, but you're born in that situation, and traditionally it means because of your karma, you're born in a situation which is compatible to your karma, which means likely you're going to be born in a family that has particular karmas according to your karma, in which your karma will then become manifest. But when we have modern society today, liberal society, whatever, where there is so much Varna Shankara, where people marry anybody and everything and have sex with anybody and everybody, and there's no proper understanding, there's no idea of the objective and so on and so forth, so it's more sense gratification. So children are born, sometimes they don't even have a parent, or they have one parent. They have one parent, mother or father. It's a common thing in modern society. Imbalance in society. Prabhupada established ISKCON, and the first principle of ISKCON was to educate people in this science to counteract the imbalance in society. Those are Prabhupada's words. to bring unity and peace in society, which is lacking. Despite all of our, whatever, expressions of liberalism and our expressions of whatever, it's not bringing about peace and unity. It's not removing the imbalance in society, but rather it is furthering it because it's based on an artificial or a false concept of what life is for. Any system which doesn't understand the ultimate goal of life is basically Shrama Evahi Kevam. Varnashram Vibhavasha. Vanushthitasya Dharmasya Samsiddhi Haritoshan. It's meant for the pleasure of Krishna, but when it's not, Dharma Smasthitokam Sam Vishvaksena Katasya Nopadiyadi Divading Shrama Evahi Kevam. It's a waste of time. Simply another form of sense gratification. So the Varnashram system, unless it leads one to Krishna consciousness, is basically another waste of time. And then some reflective ideas are there, but the ultimate goal is Samsiddhira Haritoshanam, to please Krishna, not ourselves. Not just to accommodate our karmic bad karma, whatever it is we've got. Obviously there's some facilitating there, but it's to change that, to elevate us beyond that level, and not just to accommodate us at that level, or keep us at a low level by systematic purpose, which maybe modern society unknowingly or knowingly tends to do. But to elevate, to rise above being controlled by our senses, rise above being controlled by our karma, rise above being controlled by our false conceptual views, our false perceptions, our attachments and so on. It's a slow, not so slow in one sense, but a gradual process of elevation. And now we have here Srila Prabhupada saying the dire need of establishing a Vedic Varnashram, and based on the fact that we need Vaishnavas. And the whole system of Vedic knowledge is based on this principle. But people have lost the clue, and they are simply pursuing sense gratification, with the risk of gliding down to a lower grade of life, Mityu Samsara Vartmani. They lose the opportunity of human life. People don't understand that. Mostly they don't consider there is a life anyway after this one. So there's nothing to lose, there's nothing to go to. There's no objective to this life. So therefore that type of philosophy leads to hedonistic or grossly sensual pursuits, trying to do it within, for some reason or other, they do have laws in society, God knows why. Since it doesn't have any meaning, and the goal of life is sense gratification, why are you putting restrictions on it? There's another side, which is sort of some kind of inner conscious sort of fear that there is some some laws of nature, and it's not just a free-for-all. There are some laws, and everyone feels it when you do something so-called wrong. You kind of feel something in your heart, Dum, dum, dum. And then there are laws. You can't do this, you can't do that. You can't have sex in the street, for instance, although maybe it's becoming more and more close to the mark. But literally you cannot legally have. You can't. Although I've seen in Paris, in the Gare du Nord station, people passing stool on the platform. Although technically speaking, you're not supposed to do that. They're a class of human beings or whatever who do things like that. I've literally seen it right in front of my eyes, and people passing stool on the station platform. They don't consider. And they're so full, nobody even bothers doing anything about it. But generally that's not allowed. For a dog it's allowed. The dog mentality. Human society has become like somewhat doggish in what to do. It doesn't matter, Prabhupada says, whether one is born a Brahmin or not. Which of course is a very contentious subject amongst many people. But it doesn't matter. Of course, there's a great fortune to be born in a Brahmin family, if there is such a thing. If you're born in the family of farmers, you've got a good chance of learning about farming. And you may well have a character of a farmer. Maybe nowadays it's changed, but traditionally, usually a farmer's son becomes a farmer. A doctor, maybe less so, but quite often you see in the family of doctors, especially Indian people, I've seen almost all their children are in the medical world. It's still something there. They may not be trained properly, but there's something there. And one's a dentist, one's a doctor, one's a this and that, pharmacist. It's quite common. Not exclusive by any means, but quite common. So it's a good opportunity because you're brought up with that association. But it doesn't guarantee that one becomes one. One still has to go through the various training and acquire the qualifications of a doctor or whatever it is. Maharaja ISKCON is a dentist. He's not born in a dental family, are you? But he had a tendency towards medicines or medical things, and he became a dentist. So that's normal in this society, that you do something different to your parents. And but if you're born in a family, then it does at least give you a kind of opportunity which others may desire but don't have. But still you have to take the necessary steps to become designated as a doctor or a dentist or whatever it may be. So what to speak of a Brahmin who has the highest duty in society is not just about getting a Brahminic thread. Anyone can wear a Brahmin thread and say, I am a Brahmin. Of course, if you're not born in a Brahmin in India or many places, even if you do wear one, you're not accepted as one. Even if you have more qualification of a Brahmin than one born in a Brahmin family, they do not accept it anyway. But it's irrelevant in one sense. But just simply wearing a Brahmin thread does not mean we're a Brahmin. One has to manifest the qualities of a Brahmin. What are the qualities of a Brahmin? th chapter Bhagavad Gita text, what number? 43 or something? Someone can read it? The qualities of a Brahmin, you can find it on your mobile phone, Lochan. Now, find it on your mobiles. And read it to us when you find it. Every order of life has its qualities. It's not just about getting a position, getting appointed as a Brahmin or a Kshatriya, or I am a Vaishya. You're working like an ass. Vaishyas do not work like asses. They manage workers. You found it?
It's for Kshatriyas.
Huh?
It's for Kshatriyas.
Well, the one before is for a Brahmin. Your son is a Kshatriya? Look like a Kshatriya.
Peacefulness, self-control.
Loud and slow, loud and clear.
Peacefulness.
Everyone quiet, and let's hear loudly, slow, loud and clear.
Peacefulness,
Peacefulness. One at a time. Next one.
Self-control.
Self-control. Next one.
Austerity.
Austerity. Next
Purity.
one. Purity.
Tolerance.
Tolerance.
Honesty.
Honesty.
Knowledge.
Knowledge.
Wisdom.
Wisdom.
And religiousness.
And religiousness. These are the qualities by which the Brahmanas work. It doesn't say what they do. It doesn't say Brahmins offer arti, perform fire yajnas, and do samskaras. It doesn't say that. It's the quality by which they work. That's what designates one as a Brahmin, or honesty. They're honest. Honesty, we don't have time to get into any of these subjects. They have these qualities. A Kshatriya, a little different, huh? What's the Kshatriya?
Heroism, power.
One at a time. Heroism. Next one.
Power.
Power. Strong, very strong. They're very heroic, they're fearless. Next one.
Determination.
Determination, they don't give up. Next one.
Resourcefulness.
Resourcefulness, they're always resourceful. And Prabhupada was also, he had qualities of everybody. Vaishnava can, all qualities are there in Vaishnava. He had the Kshatriya, Brahmin, Vaishnava, all qualities. He was expert at everything. Very resourceful. Something didn't work, he would immediately find what works to achieve the goal. Don't stick like some kind of dummy, sticking to the same thing which doesn't work. Be resourceful, looking for the way to achieve the objective. Next one.
Courage in battle.
Courage in battle, never turn back.
Generosity.
Generosity. They knew how to give charity. It wasn't just giving to the wrong cause. They knew how to give, who to give to, how to give, what to give. You know, Krishna was giving 13,054 cows every day from each and every one of his 16,108 palaces. He was giving over 2 million cows a day in Dwarka, in charity. Where's Namacharya?
You only have 3 cows left.
You want 2 million and you got 2. You want 2 million. You should pray to Krishna. Next one.
And leadership.
Leadership. I mean, the real meaning of leadership. They have these leadership seminars and all sorts of terms nowadays. But if you don't know where you're going, then what type of leadership can you give? If you get on a bus or something, the conductor says, where do you want to go? You have to know where you want to go, but if you get on a bus, you ask the conductor, the driver rather, where are you going? He says, I don't know. Interesting, but probably not the purpose you got on the bus is not going to be fulfilled. The driver has to know where they're going, so the leader has to know where he's going, otherwise he's not a leader. He's a cheater. Next one?
That's it, man.
That's it. And then of course the Vaishyas, what do? What do Vaishyas do?
Farming.
Farmers?
Farming.
Huh?
Cow protection.
Cow protection. Huh?
Business.
See?
And
Business or trade. Business, traditionally it was more trade. Now, business nowadays is kind of, probably takes on a little bit more of a different meaning. But trade, they would trade the farming, the agricultural products. They would organize the production in society, which they still do, you could say, but not like tradition, not the traditional way. Now it's more commodities. For sense enjoyment, there is types of commodities. But then, traditionally, mostly it's farming. It's all about the farming. Everything is around farming. Society was based primarily with a spiritual goal, but it was based around farming. Production. Krishna and Balaram were farmers. They're born in farming families. They have Kshatriya blood as well, but they're living into also, but they're living in Vaishya situation, farming. The essential factor of life. But without the Brahmins, everything's chaotic because there's no ultimate goal. The Kshatriyas are guided by the Brahmins, who then facilitate the Vaishyas, who then engage the Shudras. Everything is worked like that. The guidance of the Brahmins to the Kshatriyas. The Kshatriyas take that guidance and then organize or facilitate society so the Vaishyas perform their duties correctly and produce properly food And then the Shudras, which is a vast majority, the 90% of society of Shudras, human society, outside of that the inhumans who are not following Varnashram. They serve the other three orders of life, but especially the Vaishyas, because the majority of society is based around farming. Of course, there are those who serve the servants of the Kshatriyas and maybe the Brahmins also in small ways. But primarily they serve the Vaishyas and they work in the fields. The Shudras work in the fields, growing things, crops and grains and fruits and vegetables and whatever else it may be, in the fields to produce foodstuffs. And there's a whole structure, economic structure there, that everyone gets their fair share. And if the Kshatriyas are properly engaged, then they're the protectors of society. They're qualified. They protect. The very word Kshatriya means to protect, not to exploit, not even to manage, but they protect. And what do they protect? Of course, they have to physically protect from harm. But the greatest harm in society is, if you see in the Bhagavad Gita, in the 3rd chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, one very extremely important question is asked by Arjuna. He asked Krishna a question. Do you remember what it? There were 2 questions, but the second of the 2, what does he ask? Pardon? 3rd chapter. Carry on.
What does impel a man?
What?
What does impel a man to act?
Yes, you've got it. Well done. What is it that impels a man or a person to act sinfully, even if against his will? An interesting question. What would most people think about that question? Even if you're a devotee, some of you will probably think differently about what that refers to. Probably. You may give several different answers to that. If you say, what is it that impels you to act sinfully, even if against your will? What does it refer to?
Don't have enough knowledge.
Karma? Kama. That would probably be the most common answer. Sex life, sense gratification, lust. And Krishna says that's the answer. In one sense, kama esha, kvota esha, rajaguna samudbhava. It is lust only, Arjuna. But that's the answer, is lust which causes one to act like that. But most people will think what he's referring to is lust itself, acting sinfully. Stealing, killing, raping, abuse, whatever else comes into that bracket of sin, according to the culture you're in. Isn't it? You're a sinner. You're a sinner. Of course, if you're religious, it means you don't abide by that particular religious doctrine or something. But in terms of a general category, you're a sinner. You know, different people would, in some places to eat meat is a sin, in some places it's not. It's not really an absolute thing. But the principle of sin is to go against moral principles or whatever. Right? Sinfully. Some people will categorize smoking cigarettes. Why do I do this? This is sinful. I'm driven by something. So, okay, lust. But lust isn't just a sexual act. Lust is an overwhelming desire where we see ourselves in the center and we see everything as an object of my sense enjoyment. That's lust, the effect of lust. We lust after things around us, be it what it may. But what else can you say about that question? Is that what Arjuna is asking? Where is Krishna talking about that up to that moment of time? Where's Krishna talking about, sinful activities in terms of, what you do? It's not Arjuna. Krishna, why am I so attracted to the girls all the time? Krishna, why am I so envious of people? Krishna, why do I want to steal all the time? Not what I want to do, but why am I pushed to do it? Why am I pushed into drinking liquor, Krishna? He's not. Is that mentioned anywhere up to that point of time? Not at all. It doesn't come up anywhere. Practically speaking, it's inferred, but it's not directly brought up. What is Arjuna referring to?
Killing his family member.
Well, that could be taken as being, that's a secondary thing. It's there in the first chapter, so you're right. There is a reference to that. That he was worried about killing, and he's seeing that killing his family members is a sin. But Krishna doesn't agree with that.
It's lust.
It's lust, that's the reason. But what does he refer to? What is that lust? What is the lust referring to? The third chapter, what is it discussing?
Controlling the senses?
Oh yeah, but what's the specific subject matter of the third chapter? But what is that? Huh? What is that?
The mind?
Pardon?
Mind?
Line?
Mind.
The mind? Not so much. Yes, Jason?
Working without attributing the karma.
Getting closer to the mark. Work. Work according to what? One more word. Work according to what is that? Be more specific.
Scriptures?
Huh?
Scriptures?
Yeah. Working according to your nature. Working according to your nature. Simple as that. That's what it's all about. Of course, it's karma yoga. It's not just working according to your nature, but it's primarily, and that's the whole subject matter. That's where Arjuna got it wrong. He was looking at the situation from a Brahminical platform. But he's not a Brahmin, he's a Kshatriya. Get out of here. You're a sinner if you try to do anything else. If you have to, because of emergency, that's something else. Just like a devotee may have to eat meat in an absolute emergency. Well, you won't do it normally. Time and circumstance. So in normal circumstances, if your quality is a Kshatriya, you have to act as a Kshatriya, like it or lump it. Same with a Vaishya, same with a Shudra. You play your part designated by the Lord. That is Dharma in this world. Naimittika Dharma. Nothing to do with what your label is or what you imitate. That's not Dharma, that's sin. It's completely wrong. But what it causes one to, try to act against your nature. Lust, Arjuna. It's a different perspective. The importance of the Varnashram system is, it's absolute in Vedic society, at least as the ages progress. Especially in this age, it's very difficult to implement, no doubt about that. But Prabhupada says here, the Krishna conscious movement is therefore very much eager. So I guess if you're a member of the Krishna consciousness movement, you should be eager to implement it. I guess. I don't know if that's misinterpretation, but Prabhupada does say the Krishna consciousness movement is therefore very much, not just eager, but very much eager to reintroduce the Varna Ashram system into human society, so that those who are bewildered or less intelligent will be able to take guidance from qualified Brahmins. And it's a fact that Prabhupada put emphasis first on Brahminical life. And we haven't gone much beyond that. We've reached that, but that's only one aspect of the system. It's the head, and you need a head, otherwise you'll be dead. The head must be there, but you don't live on the head. The head is meant to direct the body has to be there too, so everything has to be there. But there's a long way to go, you could say. My understanding of Prabhupada's idea, or his concept, was hatched, like an egg is hatched in 1968 in Montreal, where Prabhupada's having a conversation, and I don't know who was there, I think Padumna was there, and I don't know who was there. But anyway, there was a conversation going on, Prabhupada and some of his disciples, about Varnashram, right in the early days. Padumna, I think, asked the question, Srila Prabhupada, What does expert mean? Prabhupada said expert means to know what is your nature and to act accordingly. That's expert. Don't imitate others. And he just gave some simple examples. If you're a calf, you immediately go to the mother and drink the milk. Expert. Of course, you could say that's not really an example. Prabhupada gave an example. In other words, what you're naturally inclined towards. Varna Shankara in this age, we may have a little difficulty there. But this is the principle. That which we're naturally inclined towards is ascertained, just like Gargacharya will now ascertain the natural characteristics of Krishna and Balaram from a material perspective, for what it's worth. But that's the nature, that's what the Guru does at that stage. He ascertains the characteristics of the child, that they have this inclination. They'll see, whole Vedic society, to see what the nature of the child is. There are different ways. Bhaktivinoda Thakur describes it at greater length in Chaitanya Sikshamrita, to ascertain the nature of a child. You can see it usually coming up, especially as the child grows, their natural inclination towards certain subject matters, towards certain persons who are inclined towards certain things, how they respond to certain situations. All this was watched. So they create a kind of a natural situation for the child to manifest these qualities without forcing the child to sort of dismiss that tendency. We have a tendency to dismiss it. Child grows up. What would you like to do? I'd like to be a garbage man. That means one where they collect up the rubbish or the trash or the garbage. What will your mother say? Your mother's hoping you're going to become a doctor or a lawyer or something, and that you were 10 years old, and she asked you, son, what would your daughter, what would you like to be? I like to be a garbage collector. You all know what garbage is? Rubbish, the garbage, all the trash. Generally the mother, oh, wow, that's wonderful, son. Oh, that's fantastic. Immediately you can finish school and clean all the rubbish in the house up every day and get trained up. Okay, good idea. That would be a nice response. But unlikely. Oh, don't talk such rubbish. She'd answer you with the same word. Don't talk such rubbish. That's a load of garbage. I told my mother when I was 11 years old I wanted to be a monk, and she said, oh my God, don't talk such rubbish. And then when I actually did join the Hare Krishna movement, she couldn't believe her eyes or ears. I gave her a good warning. She couldn't take it. What will my family think? What will my sisters, brothers, uncles, what will everyone think? I'm going to be a disgrace to the family. You've shamed the whole family. It was going on and on. I will be embarrassed to mention you ever again. What is going on? Disgrace. What to do? So that wouldn't be there, it wouldn't be forced. So you see the qualities of a child coming up, then they would be encouraged favorably, if it was favorable in that direction. So they naturally grow up. If they have a farming tendency, then what's the use of going to school to learn farming? You don't learn farming in a schoolroom. You go on the field and learn from a farmer. You don't learn cooking in a university, room, you may have done. You learn cooking by doing it under the direction of a cook, isn't it? Let's be honest. In Australia, I heard they made a rule, I think they withdrew it, but unless you had the degree or the diploma, you weren't allowed to cook in a restaurant. I remember reading that maybe 20 years ago in Australia. And 90% of the cooks are illiterate. They're from Italy or Greece or something. They don't even know how to read and write. But they can cook with their eyes closed. And they have to go to a stupid college and learn from an idiot how to cook, right? The guy himself doesn't know how to cook practically. He just has a book there. People go to college to learn how to farm, and they don't even know how to pick a potato. I'm an electrical engineer. Can you change my light bulb? Well, you have to call the electrician to do that. I'm an electrical engineer. I don't know how to do changing of a light bulb. Here, 200 euros to get someone to change a light bulb. Plumber. I was in a devoted congregation house in America one time. And the simple thing, I could have fixed it myself. The pipes were blocked, huh? Call the plumber. $750. 30-minute job. Charged 3 hours work. Replaced the whole thing. All it was blocked. And then they had to write a check. $750. Crazy, huh? Plumbing is absolutely common sense. Unfortunately, there's not much common sense there. It's basically common sense if you do it properly. Anyway, what to do? Lack of common sense. We've finished the purport and we haven't got time to go on and on. We were going to read about Hera Panchami, but there's no time left. Hare Krishna, just finished this purport. Everyone, it's an interesting one. Who's Prabhupada writing to? We do not know. No one is born a Brahmin. Everyone is born a Shudra. Kalo Shudra Sambhava. This is referring to Kali Yuga, particularly. Even if you are born in a Brahmin family, you still have to be, go through the various purifications and tests to come to the platform, being accepted as a Brahmin. But by the guidance of a Brahmin and by samskara, one can become Dvija, twice born, and then gradually become a Brahmin. Brahmanism is not a system meant to create a monopoly for a particular class of men. Everyone should be educated so as to become a Brahmana. At least there must be an opportunity to allow everyone to attain the destination of life. Of course, not everyone's going to be a Brahmin, and it'd be difficult in such a yuga. Everyone may be a Brahmin, but they live without, it's a whole different subject matter, a whole different world. But not everyone's going to be a Brahmin, even if you give everyone that chance. Very few will, very few. Regardless of whether one is born in a Brahmin family, a Kshatriya family, or a Shudra family, one may be guided by a proper Brahmin and be promoted to the highest platform of being a Vaishnava. Thus, the Krishna consciousness movement, again, affords an opportunity to develop the right destiny for human society. Nanda Maharaj took advantage of the opportunity of Garga Muni's presence by requesting him to perform the necessary reformatory activities for his sons to guide them toward the destination of life. So in this subject, by performing one's activity properly according to one's nature, according to the guidance of Guru Shastra Sadhu, one can progress towards the destination of life. That's the idea. So Prabhupada said in that conversation in Montreal that, yes, being expert, he said, just like in, he gave the example of a calf, he gave the example of a simple person who just knows how to maybe make garlands, you just do that. If you don't know how to drive, he said, don't drive. He said different things, to act according to your capacity. But then he said that what it means is that the duty of the devotees, he wanted to create a Brahminical class. He said the Kshatriya, potential Kshatriyas, Vaishyas and Shudras are there already. You just need a Brahminical class to guide them, to guide the leaders, to guide the Vaishyas and so on and so forth. We all know how difficult that is. They do not accept. And what can we say? Lacking in qualification, lacking in quality. But that's what Prabhupada was envisioning at that stage. Later on, he spoke more about establishing it within our own structure. When he saw that the vast majority in one conversation, several conversations, manifestations. One devotee, I think it was Hari Sori, said, but I thought Srila Prabhupada, you said that this isn't really practical. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, Harinam, 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 Kevalam is the only way. He said, yes. He said, but you can't do that either. You can't even get up for Mangalarti. You can't follow the principles. No interest in the philosophy. Where are the Brahminical tendencies? Where are the qualities? Not coming. Very rare. Very rare. They said, therefore, we need to start introducing this within our own society, not just the society in general, as if we're Brahmins, which we should be. Devotees, Vaishnavas are the real Brahmins. But we also have to see that, we may not be so, let's say, pure ourselves. So we need that within our own society, Prabhupada said. Whatever form it takes. Therefore, we emphasize so much the need for Varna Ashram College in Mayapur, which hasn't really taken off. I don't know who knows what will happen. So much emphasis on structure, but Prabhupada wasn't so inclined towards it, more inclined towards the substance rather than the structure. As if the structure will make it happen. It doesn't work like that. It's part of it, it's required. It's really the quality rather than the structure to become Brahminical. Take one's role in society. We have devotees. We're doing the needful, you could say. Our temples are basically the only thing we have still in this movement, practically. So they're often being managed from a Vaishya perspective, at best from a Kshatriya perspective, rarely from a Brahminical perspective, very rare. Sometimes from a Shudra perspective. It's not the purpose of the temple. That's there in society, but we haven't grown much beyond the temple mentality in many cases. Everything's still focused around the temple. In Varnashram system, you don't hear much about temples in Varnashram. Not much. A lot about Brahmins, but not so much temples. Temples are basically places where people come to perform their sacrifice, to bring the fruits of their work and offer it to Krishna. Wouldn't it be nice if the temple here, if it was run like a Brahminical center? That means no money is spent whatsoever. Everything is donated by those who are working. Everything is produced in the fields. The food which is offered to the deities is all produced here or wherever, but brought and offered to the deities. There is no buying, shopping, this, that, the other. People donate or to farm. All the food comes from the farm. Everything is offered to the deities. Everyone who comes here, the only thing going on is Krishna Katha. There is nothing else going on. There is no management meeting. There is no gossip. There is no socializing. That goes on in another arena. It would be nice to create that sacred space, so to speak. So there could be an awakening within the hearts, an attraction towards Krishna consciousness. It would be nice. Maybe a few generations, who knows. But that's the role of a Brahmin, to help direct everyone towards Krishna. And the temple particularly should be that. You go to a normal facility in this world, you go to a bank, only banking is going on. Nothing else. You don't go there to play football. You don't go there to practice your music. It's a bank, and a bank means business. Bank business. You go to a music concert, it's a music concert. You don't go there to, maybe you do something else, but basically it's a music concert. You don't go there to buy your vegetables. Everything has its part to play. A bit jumbled up right now. people are jumbled up. But if Varnashram's going to be there, there has to be some clarification of what purpose is of structure, as well as the, you can say, the essential features within that structure, the qualities of reciprocation, etc. It's not a place to vent one's anger or sense gratification or, one's own perspective on society. That has its place to play, but it's not the temple. It should be very clear what the function of the temple is. And then who fits that function becomes a little clearer. Okay, well, it's really late, and you must be starving hungry. We have a busy day today. There's lots of service to do. It would also be nice, and okay, even if you don't go that far in the community. I remember one nice thing in Auckland one time, back in the 90s, we were supposed to be managing the project. We had what was called working bees. Have you ever heard of a working bee? It's a Western type term, English term. Do you know what a working bee is? There's a lot of working bees around here. Many of them stung me like hell the other night in the fields. At night time, all these bumblebees and hornets and wasps were out, eagerly biting, and bites everywhere. But not that type of bee. What's a working bee? Have you ever heard that term? They don't use it in America, Varangi? Working bee. What is a working bee?
Everybody together.
Everyone coming together. In Australia, I know it's common. You know that term in Australia. Every member of the community comes together. And all together they weed. Or all together they pick. All together they plant. All together they harvest. All together they clean the temple. All together they do whatever it is. Of course there are exceptions. Other things have to be done. And some people are incapable. But in general, that's the meaning. Women, children, elderly if they're fit, all come together. I was in Hungary one time on the farm there. I happened to be there on the first harvest day, where they harvest the first wheat. Everybody was there, the elderly, the children, the women, everyone was out, the dogs, everyone was there. And everyone was there with some were with sickles, some were tying them into bundles, some were carrying them away, some were threshing. Everyone was doing different things, but the whole thing was a teamwork. The whole temple was geared like that. Not, oh, you do this, you do that, then you don't have anything to do with each other, practically speaking. You don't even know. They have no idea what mice is doing down the garden. Probably never been there. Or what Namacharya is doing, or Baladev is doing in the forest today. Probably have no idea. Probably no idea he's even there. Everyone will be a part of it, and it'll be a teamwork. That's another angle, at least it's a community perspective. It's not exactly Varnashram, but it's another angle in our present perhaps situation. It works. It worked nicely. It brought diversity, unity and diversity. It brought diverse groups together. We had groups there was one group in Auckland at that time who were banned from ISKCON, and they're the most prominent group in ISKCON right now, but they were banned from ISKCON at that time. So we brought them in to help, they willingly came and were a part of the working bee. Every week they came 1 day a week. It's just a nice way of overcoming all these obstacles. And for sure, when we work and when we sweat is a very, very good thing to do, by the way. It clears out a lot of the or the rubbish within us. And half of our health problems are because we don't sweat. We don't work hard. Most of us need to work hard. We're so mental. 90% of kids nowadays are mental. Yeah. By working hard, you can overcome that problem. You sweat it, and you'd be surprised. You feel very light and peaceful at the end of 8 hours non-stop work. Have you ever heard of that before? Don't know if anyone's heard of that statement in this modern day society. You have a break in for half an hour for lunch. And straight back to work again. That's what it was, that's Varnashram. You work hard. People don't work hard anymore. They want to sit behind a computer and waste their time and get mental. And go on all kinds of rubbish WhatsApp groups and websites, and all complete 100% rubbish. And how to do things and do nothing. Tell everyone what to do and do nothing. But when we work according nicely, then you find your health, especially when you're young, becomes very strong and much mentally and physically much better. Anyway, Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Gaur Premanandi.
Here you go.
Don't blame me, you have to blame Prabhupada, he said he wanted it.
Sorry, Janananda Goswami Maharaj ki.
I'd like to thank the devotees who've been, whatever you're doing of course, but those who came out for a few hours here and there, out picking the thorns and all the weeds and the daily patches. Hare Krishna. Voluntary doing, by the way, not